The election of Miriam Amanda Ma Ferguson is typically considered the end of progressivism in Texas. She entered Texas politics under extraordinary circumstances. After her husband, former Governor James Pa Ferguson, was impeached, convicted and barred from holding office in 1917, he attempted to return to power in 1924, but was unable to get his name on the ballot. In response, Miriam announced her own candidacy for governor, framing her run explicitly as a continuation of her husband's leadership. Until that point, she had devoted her life almost entirely to her family, but her supporters quickly embraced her under the affectionate nickname Ma, derived from her initials M.A. From the outset, her campaign made clear that voters would not simply be electing Miriam, but would also be restoring her husband to influence. She repeatedly told audiences they would receive 2 governors for the price of 1, and her rallies featured her briefly introducing her husband before yielding the platform to him. A popular slogan, capturing the spirit of the campaign, declared, "Me for Ma, and I ain't got a derned thing against Pa." Observers widely assumed, and she openly acknowledged, that Pa Ferguson would remain the real political force if she won. No one candidate won a majority of the votes in the Democratic primary. Therefore, Ferguson had to defeat Felix Robertson, who had the support the KKK, in a runoff election. Like other Texas Democratic governors, winning the nomination virtually guaranteed victory in the election. The general election, however, proved unusually competitive. Her Republican rival, George Butte, drew tens of thousands of normally Democratic voters who were disillusioned by the corruption of her husband's administration. Women and suffragists in particular flocked to the Republican nominee. Although Republicans generally won only 11,000 to 30,000 votes in gubernatorial races, Butte captured nearly 300,000. Still, Texas remained a Democratic state, with Ferguson winning 58% of the vote. Her victory made her the first woman in Texas history to be elected governor and the second female governor in U.S. history who had taken office 15 days earlier. Ferguson entered office promising budget cuts, opposition to new liquor laws, and a strong stand against the Ku Klux Klan, culminating in her support for an anti-mask law aimed at limiting the Klan's activities, though the courts ultimately struck it down. But her administration quickly became mired in controversy. Although she had pledged to reduce state spending by $15 million, overall expenditures increased slightly. More damaging were accusations of corruption centered on pardons, paroles, and state highway contracts. Ma Ferguson issued pardons at an unprecedented rate, about 100 per month, and critics charged that the Fergusons accepted bribes in the form of cash and land in exchange for clemency. Similarly, the Ferguson-appointed Highway Commission was accused of steering lucrative road contracts to political supporters in return for kickbacks. Though impeachment was threatened, it never materialized, but the scandals severely eroded her political standing. These controversies opened the door for Attorney General Dan Moody, who had previously investigated Pa Ferguson and recovered $1 million in misused state funds. Running on an anti-corruption platform, Moody challenged Ma Ferguson in the 1926 Democratic primary. With the backing of suffragists and reformers, he defeated her in the runoff. As evidence demonstrating how controversial the Fergusons were, Moody returned Democratic dominance in the general election. He defeated his Republican rival handily, winning nearly 87% of the vote. Despite the turbulence of her administration, Ferguson made contributions with lasting impact. She fulfilled her promise to push for anti-Klan legislation, continued her husband's opposition to prohibition, and, through the visibility of her office, played a historic role in expanding public acceptance of women in executive political positions. Miriam Ma Ferguson's first term as governor ended in early 1925, closing one of the most contentious and colorful administrations in Texas history, an era marked by political loyalty, public controversy, and the unprecedented emergence of women in statewide executive power.